#1 station for R&B and old school jams. I'm your host, Travis Gibson. I'm with my co-host this morning, my brother, Mr. Rocky Miller. The contact number to the station is 254-235-9450. And so we'd like to encourage our listeners to join us. So we're just glad to be here this morning. It's a great day to be alive. How you doing, Brother Rocky?
Hey man, I'm good. It's good to be here with you again, Councilman Gibson. The weather was beautiful this week, and it seemed that everything seems to be in good order with my family and everything. I want to congratulate Patrick Listash and Riel Listash. They tied the knot last week, and we had an opportunity to celebrate their union this weekend, and that's a festive occasion. I didn't lose a daughter; I gained a son in my mind, and so
Got an extended family, huh? That's what it is.
absolutely. And
Family.
and you know, a lot of people say that a marriage is two people coming together, but in my opinion, a marriage is two families coming together, you know, and forming a big, beautiful family. And I can say the Carters and the Listash are a great family to merge with and be a part of. So it's a wonderful thing, man. And I just want to also give acknowledgement to the parents of the groom, Melvin Carter and Lisa Carter. They did a great job with Patrick, and he's been truly a blessing to my daughter and their children.
That's a blessing, man. Mr. Brother Carter's my fraternity brother, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
That make him a good man.
Good man, trying to make ourselves better men. Trying to make a good man a better man. So we're here today. I'm glad to have Rocky here. Well, we got a good show, and this is Black History Month, which we should have 12 months, the whole year of Black History Month. But it's always important to understand your history and understand the things that people before us had to go through to give us the opportunities and the freedoms that we have right now. But on that point, you have to continue to grow and have a growth mindset and to build off of that, because one day, like me and Rocky, we're sitting here today, 100 years from now, we're going to be well gone, and hopefully our memory and our history will go on with our kids. Now, we know our bloodline is going to continue to go, but a lot of times the history gets dropped at some point if we don't keep it up and tell those stories, because when I was growing up, I was around my grandparents. I like to sit down and just listen to older people, and you can learn a whole lot because they have a lot of knowledge. But once they pass on, you know, that knowledge passes on with them unless you pick it up and you share it and keep it going. So we want to give a shout out to that, but we're going to talk about today the history of A.J. Moore High School, which was a prominent high school here in the city of Waco, and a lot of people went to A.J. Moore High School. My parents graduated from A.J. Moore. Rocky's mom graduated from A.J. Moore. They have a history, but they still keep the history going on. And so we're going to drop a little knowledge on that. So I'm going to have a history education for those who don't know. And you got to know your history to know where you are right now. But before that, I want to give a shout out. We had some good local high school basketball games going on this week. Well, actually yesterday, the defending state champions, the La Vega Lady Pirates, they advanced to the Class 4A regional finals. They defeated a tough Hardin-Jefferson team yesterday, 64-61. Super sensational senior in Wichita State commit, Miss Parr, she had a deuce. She had 29 points, along with junior Angela Carroll. She chipped in 14 points. So they face off today against Madisonville for a chance to advance to the state tournament again. And I know last year after they won the state, Coach Willis, Marcus Willis, he came to the studio, and the goal was to go back and repeat. And they have a very good opportunity to do that. So shout out to those running Lady La Vega Pirates as they continue on. Also, the boys basketball team, La Vega boys, they won the area championship last night. They defeated Mickey Leland Prep 46-43. And so they advanced on to the next round of the playoffs, which is the third round. So both the La Vega girls and boys teams advanced.
Yeah, that's a great thing, man. La Vega has a tremendous, and I know your sons went to La Vega. Well, they still attend. Your son and daughters, just about all your kids went to.
Yeah, they all went to La Vega.
They all went to La Vega, so you well aware of the rich history of sports. And they've had tremendous coaches and tremendous men
Yeah.
at that program. And I'd like to say that Marcus Willis is in keeping with that tradition of Coach Gillum and Coach Gill and those people who have coached both Coach Gills, to be perfectly honest with you, to have being not only great coaches, great people, but really pivotal people in the community, make a giving back at a very high level. And so they not only win on the court, they certainly win off the court as well. So I'm a big La Vega fan by virtue of the fact of watching the success that they've had in this community in all sports, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, track. You got Coach Carpenter in track. They just got a really good program. But I give a lot of credit to, people that went to Waco High. A lot of our, I always imagine my kids in the scarlet, gray, and white with the line on the side of the helmet. But of course, people grow and they move, and they got their own pride. So I'm a mixture of the Lions, the Pirates, and the Trojans, because I've been educating over there for the past 10 years. So I got a little bit of mixture of everything. And speaking of the Trojans, University, their boys basketball team, they advanced to the third round. They defeated Georgetown last night in a thriller. It was 53-51. So they have a really good team. They have a real good team over at University, good coaching staff, administration. So they're on the road. And so I expect those young gentlemen to go pretty far. Coach Felix has done a good job with the basketball team. But Coach Carr at Waco High, he's working. He's in the lab. And I look for those lines to pop in that playoff next year. Football also, we got to get back into it.
I'm a Lion through and through. I bleed scarlet and gray like yourself, and it's been tough these past few.
Yeah.
I say over a decade for Waco High athletics, in my opinion, and having La Vega being a school right. Well, some of their schools is in Waco City.
Right, yeah.
Being a school that is highly competitive. A lot of the kids are Waco kids, a lot of parents are Waco parents, and this is just an easy program to root for if you're a Waco guy and have, strong Waco connections. And so that's what I am, and so I have to root for those guys, those kids. But like you said before, it's been pretty tough on Waco High, and I look forward to Waco High turning the corner this year. There's a lot of positive movement behind, not only on the field and on the court, but also behind the scenes. When you look at the men who are in charge of those programs, who are trying to get it turned around, I got full confidence in not only the basketball staff but also the football staff that they'll eventually turn the corner and potentially make the playoffs next year in both football and boys basketball.
Yeah, I think they can do it. They have the talent. They have the athletes. I think you got to find someone that can connect. Specifically at this point, I'm talking about the football program. Someone that can connect with the community to gather those kids up. Because back when we played, everybody wanted to be a Lion, right? And we watched those guys that came before us, and the guys that came behind us watched us. So it was we had that tradition. So the tradition we still have it, and it was a pride thing when you wore the Lion on your helmet. When we got off the bus, we expected to win, right? We had a swagger when we walked, and it just carried on. And it's always this debate who has what was the best team to come out of Waco High School, and I always say the '87 team. Mm-hmm. You was a senior on that squad, I was a junior, and I think the '91 when they went to Odessa Permian. Had a great squad, but we had a lot of good teams, and it's that's a good topic of conversation amongst friends. You know, they always say who's the best running back, the linebackers, the best defense, stuff like that. So it's nice to kind of sit around and talk about this.
I hear those debates and I see them on Facebook a lot. If you notice, Travis, I often don't participate in them, not because I don't have my opinions or whatever, but I know that I have strong relationships with my teammates, and those relationships are gonna cloud my judgment as it relates to who is the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who is the best backfield to have a player? And if I say you and Greg were the best, that's obviously that our relationship impacts that. You know what I mean? If I say who's the best, they say who's the best linebacker, and I say Anthony Williams. That my relationship with Anthony, that's gonna impact my decision. So I stay out of those because I have an inability to be unbiased in that situation because I was part of that team. We were a close knit group that we went out and played hard, and we accomplished a lot of great things on the field. So I can't divorce myself from being part of that. But it's always an interesting debate to see those guys talk about it online and debate it. But what I'm most fortunate of is that it's a real conversation to have, meaning that we had so many great players, so many great teams that we can debate. We can debate about the 87 team, which we both were a part of. And then we can debate about the 91 team, which had Jay Johnson. And then we can talk about Louis Fight, who was one of the greatest running backs in Texas football history. And then we can talk about a linebacker such as Derrick Johnson, you know. And then we can also inject the 2006 Waco High team that played for a state championship. So we can have these conversations spanning for over 20 years, you know, of success of a program. And I'm just fortunate that I was a part of it, and I built relationships with men who are men, you know, impactful men in the community. And I think that's what that program represents more than anything, is that the kind of men that came out of that program, like yourself and many of my other teammates who necessarily went on to play college football, but we had so many guys who went on, whether it be Anthony Aguilar, Clyde Kelly, so many men that went on to serve in the military and retire. We not only made great football players, but that program put out a lot of great men, and I'm just Cedric Bogans. Like the list goes on and on about men who not only were good high school football players, but went on to be great men and serve their country with distinction. And so I'm just proud to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I'm kind of like you. I don't comment. I watch it or whatever because number one, I'm pulling for them. We had some great teams, a lot of great players, but when you start naming names, right, you're gonna forget somebody because it has so many great players.
Absolutely.
Because me personally, I used to look up to Ted Long. I watched how his work ethic, his leadership, his toughness and grit, and just the will to just go out there and win and have fun doing it. So I looked up to those guys, man. And that was who I wanted to model my game after, was Ted Long. And so it's all about us setting a standard, man. And I think we can still bring it back, just like South Oak Cliff, like Coach Todd said. If you build it, they'll come. The Mecca. So we'll be okay on that. Also, with the sports topic, I want to give a congratulations to the Conley Cadets boys and girls basketball teams on a successful season. Came to an end last night. The girls, they lost to Madisonville. They were in the regional tournament. They lost to Madisonville 53-50, and the boys, they played Houston Gates, and so they succumbed to them. But Coach Snell, man, he has a history of winning, right? But not only winning, impacting young men and the women over in that program. So I want to give a kudos to them. And when I was thinking about it last night, Rocky, you had Belle Meade and Lacey Lakeview. They were all down in Bryan, right? The boys played in the Conley boys and La Vega boys played in College Station. The girls, Conley and La Vega girls, played in Bryan, and they were in the regional tournament. So it was flooded with Lacey Lakeview and Belle Meade. Even though we were rivals when we played each other, but when we play other people, we always come together as one to support each other. And this right here is kind of a hypothetical deal. If you combine Conley and La Vega right now, because they got a lot of talent, a lot of athletes, they can make some things happen. They can really make some things happen, man.
Yeah, well, you got to understand, you combine those two schools, you create a big 5A, potentially a small 6A school. So that's a lot of kids coming
Yeah.
together. You know, I remember a time where culturally and demographically, those schools were really different from one another. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
now they're very similar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just like even when we were in school, La Vega was demographically much different than Waco High.
Yeah.
But now you look at La Vega, it looks like Waco High did when we were going to school back then. And I just think the demographic shift in our neighborhoods and in our communities has affected the performance of not only university but also Waco High,
Yeah.
and that's something we have to take into account. In that, which brings me to my point is that we have to have families willing to move in and occupy homes in the Waco High sector that historically have a connection to. If you love your neighborhood, if you love East Waco, and you're able to buy or build a home, come on back to the community and establish home roots. My kids weren't able to wear the scarlet and gray growing up, but I I have a I have a really deep desire for my grandkids to someday put on that scarlet and gray, and I can sit in the stands and watch them either run out the tunnel or run onto the court. Uh, and so I look forward to that day, you know. And it's only going to happen if people who have a connection to that community come back, because we had a large exodus of people who have deep roots in East Waco and North Waco, but for whatever reason they decided to occupy homes outside in the suburban communities. And so I would like everybody, man, who has a desire to restore the
Restore the roar.
history,
Restore the
restore
roar.
the roar, yeah, to come back and uh, take up, buy, build, rent, whatever you got to do. Come back to those wonderful neighborhoods that we love so much. So
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. And just for a side note, now La Vega, they're going to scrimmage Waco High this upcoming season.
wow,
La Vega was trying to play Waco High University, right? It was supposed to happen, but La Vega didn't back out. Just leave it like this. But they're going to scrimmage Waco High. They're going to have a scrimmage game, and University opted to play China Springs in a game. So that would have been really good for the community just to come
I
together.
think so.
It would have been a
I
big
think
deal,
so.
man. But I understand the risk that's involved with that, and you're trying to build a program. But you think if you win that game, right, because everybody gravitates towards winners, right, they could start a flow of kids going either direction, right, either Waco High, University, or La Vega.
So Travis, I believe those games in this particular circumstance should be made for this reason. One, it's a great opportunity for the fan bases to have really short trips to games. We all work, get off at 5:30, having to go to. We've all had games that we had to go to Dallas and go see. It'd be nice to get off at 5:30 and be able to get you a hot dog or a sandwich and head on over to the game.
Yeah.
And then, not only that, once the game is over, you got a 15-minute ride home. That's a lovely situation for a fan base. And to go see an exciting game and an enthusiastic game. And I think in this era, those University Waco High games, right? Those University China Spring, University, even Robinson, even Waco High Robinson, Waco High China Spring, or Waco High, because you got to understand, those are prominent 4A programs in the state when you talk about La Vega and China Spring. They certainly can hold their own against 5A programs that, let's be honest, that are kind of down, right?
Yeah.
But it creates excitement in the community. It creates energy in the community to have those games. The outcome of the game is, in my opinion, is much less important than the ability for those communities to come together and have a competition and show some sportsmanship toward one another. And who knows, it may add some credibility to give opportunity for Waco High University to get credibility on the football field playing those kind of opponents. So hopefully we can get it done at some point where we can play each other because like I say, it's a great, that's a 2-year commitment. Usually, you can,
Right,
the
it's
La Vega
long.
come to
Yeah,
Waco
right.
High, which is a 5-minute trip, and then Waco High go to La Vega, which is a 5-minute trip. That's a great opportunity for parents where it won't be such a hassle to go see kids, uh, you know. But like I say, it wasn't able to be made for some reason. But hey, if you're out there, you have influence on it. If you happen to be an administrative coach or something like that, I think
Yeah,
those
make it
games
happen.
should be made. And I think those games are great for the community.
Yeah. Now the old rivalry now with the realignment in UIL, Waco High and University
That's
back in the
not no
same
rivalry.
district. I gotta be non-biased.
Yeah.
I have to be non-biased. Now my time, the funny thing, man, when I started coaching at university, right, when we played Waco High, it was just, for me, it was just different because I'm hearing the band, Waco High band with the fight song, they come in with the line beat, but I'm on the opposite side, right? And that game was packed on both sides, so I just felt some type of way. It was a little different than I did get the win. We beat Waco High. So it's all about competition, but at the same time, man, I pull for kids from both schools. So that'll be pretty good. They are in the same district and they will face off against each other, which would be good. On that note, we are in a primary election, and early voting started February the 20th, this past Tuesday. So today, the polls are open today from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Also, on the 25th, which is tomorrow, they're open from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then that following Monday through Friday, March the 1st, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's important to get out and go cast your ballot. Those early election places, you can go to McLennan County Elections Administration Office, which is downtown at the Records Building, 214 North 4th Street, Suite 300. You can go to the Waco Multi-Purpose Community Center, which is located at 1020 Elm Avenue, Hewitt City Hall or Library, Robinson Community Center, or the First Assembly God Church. So those are your early voting locations. And once again, those times, today, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., and then Monday, February the 26th through Friday, March the 1st, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So go ahead and get out to the polls and cast your ballots.
And some other local news, Travis. I wanted to get your opinion on this. I know you are on the Belle Meade City Council. Y'all deal with budgets and things of that nature. And I was reading the paper this morning in preparation, the Waco Trib, in preparation for the show this morning, and I ran across an article, a headline on the article that says, Waco ISD superintendent warns of $10 million budget shortfall, right? So I go through the article, and I'm reading the article, and they say that that Waco High not Waco High, but Waco ISD is going to start running their own bus program now, and that be due to revenue decreases by the state, support by the state is a contributing factor to this budget shortfall. But then they talk about there may have to be cuts in staff and all those kind of things. And then they get to the point in the article that says that $10 million may be able to be covered by the fund balance that exists with the school district. And I did some research. Fund balance is just cash balance that a city or school district may have, like cash on hand, like
Right.
it was almost like a reserve, right? So I was asking, my question is, how do y'all deal with these matters in Belle Meade, and wouldn't you just go in the fund balance to cover the budgetary shortage, or
Yeah.
why would you consider cuts when you got the money in the
Yeah,
fund balance?
what you got to do, you got to have a good board or council with dealing with city. Same thing with county government. You got to look at the budget, and first of all, if you show me the budget, and that budget is open record, you can access any municipality's budget, including Waco Independent School District. So I would have to look at the budget, but if you look at that budget and you see where the funds are allocated, right, that lets you know where their priorities lie. So you show me a budget, I can tell you where the priorities lie. Now I had to go look at Waco ISD, look at the budget, but I do know that there is a bus shortage. They say it's because of the lack of workers. Because we have some kids, man, that have been coming to school, they've just been late. They miss first period because they don't have the work resources shortage. And then you got a bus that goes to Waco High to drop students off, and then it comes over to University to drop students off. But you have to look at your budget because you always want to have a good budget, cash on hand. You know, we have our general fund. And then you just got to allocate money, and you have to have during the budgeting process, right? It's when you have those workshops and you discuss the upcoming budget, where the money needs to be allocated, you figure out where your priorities lie, and then you make it happen. But a $10 million, I hadn't read that all, but it's a $10 million deficit.
Yeah, in the budget. But what I say is a $10 million deficit, but you have $49 million in your bank account that you can draw from. So my question is, you know, is there some special provision that needs to be made so they can cover the budget shortfall with the $49 million that exists? I know typically you don't want to go in your savings, so to speak. You know, when I'm talking about household budgets here, you don't want to go in your savings unless it's emergency. But at the end of the day, if there's a budget shortfall, rather than start cutting jobs and cutting services in a district that really needs, you know, staff, and then with the bus situation, we expanding services. You know what I mean? Because we taking over our bus system. I don't think now is the time to be considering making cuts especially when you have a $50 million cash reserve over there that you can draw from to kind of cover those budgetary shortages.
That's a good one because right now we're short on teachers. Already we're short on teachers because the level of teachers have a lot of responsibility at school. A lot of teachers have teacher burnout, so they just choose to go into a different field. A lot of them really not passionate about it, so they just get the job to bring income in, which I understand that. But once again, you got to go back and look at all your previous budgets, and that's a question for those school board members. They should be able to give us a reason why they're
maybe
not
we can
there.
get one of them on. Maybe we can get the president, Stephanie Carterwig,
Yeah.
kind of come on and talk to us about it.
That'll be good, man, because you got to take an active interest in it to see, because that's money that's going towards our education of the students, and you got a $10 million deficit. And like I said, I have to look at that and kind of pull up the budget. You can do that while we doing the show, but we can pull it up and look at it. But you got to be good with the budget, man. That's why you got to be.
I wanted to point that out because I think that's when you talk about cutting the budget, and then right after that you talk about cutting staff and services and things of that nature in a district that has the challenges that Waco ISD has. I just don't think that's a recipe for success. Our kids, need as much support as they need to provide a quality education, and I don't think cutting the budget should be an option at this point, especially when you got $50 million in reserves.
Yeah, and that's something we can look at, man. That's a good segue to our Black History moment that I'm going to discuss. Then I'm going to kind of give a lecture, right? Because like we said before, A.J. Moore, it was a African American school, and that was doing segregation, right? And my parents went there. I know a lot of people, and they have a lot of pride about their school. But it was in 1875, a professor from Paul Quinn College by the name of Alexander James Moore. That's where AJ comes in, right? A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know it until I started doing some research and found out a lot of good things, man. So Alexander James Moore, he was actually the first teacher and the principal of A.J. Moore. Mm-hmm. And he was concerned about the lack of quality education for African American children in Waco. So he began a small group of students. He got a small group of young children, and he started educating them out of his home. That's where it started. And that was, the Reconstruction legislature of 1870 it eliminated segregation in the schools throughout the state of Texas. And when that happened, right, The laws were appealed in 1873, and most of the cities, like Waco, for example, they were left out of the provisions for African American education, right? So over time, Professor Moore's his class grew larger and larger, and it became clear that the school, was now called the First District Negro School, needed to find a bigger facility, right? And so in 1881, the classes moved from moved into a small 4-room frame building, which had originally been a hospital at the corner of Clay Avenue and River Street. And those classes became known as the Second District Negro School. And also, in addition to that, and I want to go back on that, so you had a man, African American man, that was a professor, Paul Quinn, that saw the lack and the lack of, but a need to educate our students. So he took it upon himself to start teaching students out of his home, which is, when I go back and think about that, it takes people to take that initiative, to take that first step to get it done. And so A.J. Moore, like I said, he was the first teacher and served as the school's first principal from 1881 to 1905. Now, we're talking about 1881, that's a long time ago, right? To 1905. Now, the first graduating class was in 1886, and they had a graduating class with, guess how many students, man?
Let me 10.
5. They had 5 students. That was the very first graduating class of A.J. Moore, and they had a total of 5 students. So in almost 100 years of serving children of Waco, 4,000 students graduated from A.J. Moore. Now, in 1921, the main building burned. The main building burned down, and that caused them to have to move. So they relocated to 600 South First Street, which I think, if my directions are right, is by the Clifton Tower, over in that area. But I remember going over there with my dad, just kind of wanted to see where it was located, and it should be a marker. So if anybody's listening, those distinguished alumni of A.J. Moore, you can go ahead and give us a call and kind of elaborate, because I want to bring correct and factual information to the audience. So they moved to 600 South First Street in 1923, and it had a total of 35 classrooms. So that allowed for the school to expand at that point. And let's note this, make notation that the community initially named the school after Professor Alexander James Moore, all right, because they took pride in what he did. And at that time, he was the only school that was named after a person. And so that's where the A.J. Moore comes at. And from 1923 up to 1952, A.J. Moore housed kindergarten through 12, so K through 12.
Okay.
And in 1952 until the school closed in 1971. So that's a long time. And from that point, they had 7th through 12th grade only. So the doors of A.J. Moore were officially closed in 1971 as a result of segregation and the Urban Renewal Project. So that's a brief overview of A.J. Moore High School, but we're gonna try to get play a clip if we can, because I went back and did some research, and they were saying that they had great teachers, had really good educators back then that took a genuine interest in educating our African American students. And like one lady said, so did they have homemaking when we were in school?
Yeah.
Okay. So they had homemaking, and so they basically taught you how to navigate through life. And they did a whole lot with the limited resources that they had. And so that market still stands, and that urban renewal, that's a whole different, a whole
Animal
nother
altogether.
storyline. Huh?
That's a whole different animal altogether.
It's a whole different animal altogether, because back then, from my understanding, from what I heard from my parents or whatever, it wasn't, I-35 wasn't there at that time. It was land. And so they had to come through with that urban renewal. And what that was basically, man, like with Baylor, the city and Baylor kind of initiated a partnership, and that land, they started to develop, gave a lot of land to Baylor. Like you were talking about earlier, the Kane homes. A lot of people I didn't know that the Kane homes existed until I got to doing my research and started asking questions. So that's a different ball game, but what it did, so it kind of leads over to, when they integrated, right? During the desegregation time, they started integrating. Was integration a good thing or was it a bad thing? Which is a difference of opinion. Because I know back then they had their own resources. And they basically survived and
It was self-sufficient.
self-sufficient all on their own, man. And you go back to Bridge Street, which on Bridge Street they had pharmacists, they had everything. They were thriving
Yeah.
back in those times. And then with the urban renewal, which is kind of like I know last week we were talking about gentrification, and it's another word I found out last night. It's like what revitalization, which is actually going in and revitalizing the neighborhood, bringing in jobs and things of value to kind of boost the economy. And the gentrification, they kind of overlap, but gentrification is synonymous with displacement.
Absolutely.
So that was a brief deal on that.
Well, like I say, it's interesting that I've read several articles related to urban renewal, and urban renewal, what it seemed like it did all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things it did was build the interstate highway system,
Yeah.
and in building the interstate highway system, it went through a lot of major metropolitan areas, and whether it be in Houston or Dallas or even St. Louis or Memphis, all of those roads, all those interstates somehow ended up going through historically black neighborhoods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether it's Fifth Ward or in Houston, or whether it's East Waco in Waco, or even South Dallas in South Waco. I mean South or South Oak Cliff in Dallas area. Seems like all those highways ended up going through those historically black neighborhoods. And in that situation, what they did, they acquired the land and put highways in place, and the people had to go out and find new residents, this, that, and the other. A lot of that is not. A lot of those experiences, mirror what we see in gentrification going on
Right.
all over the country. And so, when you talk about gentrification and displacement and all those things, I think we have to learn our lessons from those things as a people and understand that, and see value in our own communities.
Yeah.
That's what really has to happen in this situation, whether it's revitalization, gentrification,
Regeneration.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that, but
We have to see value in our own communities, and we as a people have to invest and take root in those historically black communities that we love so much. We can talk about loving them, but until we take ownership of property, establish homes, build businesses in those communities, we just talking.
so what's the difference from back 1920s or whatever? I know when I was growing up, there was a lot of home ownership. They owned their homes. We can look over there, Sharondale, Golden Heights. I came from the Cherry Park area, and a lot of those families, they own their homes. Like we still have our property on Mitchell Street, but when I ride down that way now, like once the elders kind of passed on, right, it was left to the kids, right. And so I don't know if it was a matter of just miseducation or the lack of education on the value of keeping your property.
Well, you got to understand, it's been a long process, right? What I mean by that is the willful neglect of maintaining and upkeeping our neighborhoods were not done only by the homeowners part, right? But it also done by the city and our governments. You understand? Because how long we lived in East Waco, we didn't have a sidewalk to walk on. We didn't have curbs. You understand what I'm saying?
We had sidewalk where I stayed.
Y'all had sidewalks over there?
And then I know on Land Street with my grandmother, I remember when they put sidewalks in, they had to push the property back, but they had created sidewalks.
So what I'm saying is, like, to me, there was a lack of investment in making sure that though our community had the same amenities as the other communities. And as people, as whether it be you or myself, as we grew up and got our families up and going, we wanted to live in areas that had amenities, right? Whether it be sidewalks, parks, safe neighborhoods, whatever. and we saw those opportunities outside of East Waco and other areas in town.
Well, I moved over to Belle Meade, which was still in Precinct 2. Because me and my wife was looking for a home. I was trying to find something in East Waco. But at the time, her grandmother was in Belle Meade. My parents were out in Lakeview. She had family in Axel, so it was convenient to be around be around the family because we had to go, make a move or something like that. But it was still in Precinct 2. And I did that for a reason because I knew at one point when the opportunity came, I would have the opportunity to succeed whomever, and I would already be in the community. Because if you look around now, it's changing. I mean, it's changing.
Well, wait.
Gotta...
I ride, and I ride around and fly my drone around the community.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, Travis, what the issue is that there's so many empty lots in our in East Waco that it's just that if we just had adequate housing built on those lots, I believe families would come back and occupy that house, But there's, I remember, a few years ago when I was looking to move back into East Waco, it was just hard trying to find a home a vacant home for that matter, or a home that was available that had adequate living space and, had, some of the amenities that, we had become used to where we were previously living. And so it's not an easy proposition to find a home in East Waco. But what you see happening now is people are building residents in East Waco now. They're building, like I told you last week. You go over on Peach Street, you go over over there off Mitchell, Cherry. They building homes in those neighborhoods now. And I think that's a grand opportunity for people who are looking to buy or purchase or build, seek out what it would take to build a home in that neighborhood. Because again, that would be a great. You right close to downtown. Downtown is vibrant, and there's lots of businesses around there. You 1 block or 2 blocks off Elm Street, that is a business thoroughfare that is, that's bubbling and there are business developing and being created, every day. And so I think that's a great neighborhood to come in, and there are lots of empty lots there. So again, I just think you have to decide whether or not you want to be in that neighborhood. And if you want to be in that neighborhood, at this point, with all the building that's going on, you realize that, hey, there is a market there. You just have to do whatever it is necessary to purchase a lot and hire someone to build you a home of your choice. Because there's not widespread development going on. It's onesie, twosies, houses going up. But I talked to a developer the other day about a house that me and my wife saw that was pretty neat. We thought it was real nice, and we called him, and he told us, oh, it's already sold. He said, but I'm building another one next door, similar to it. I was like, wow, man. I said, let us know when you're ready to say. He said, it's already sold, Mr. Miller. I'm sorry. So people are buying houses and homes, right? And again, we can't complain if we don't go in there and try to buy homes and try to develop and establish neighborhoods.
Yeah. You can get that land.
One day, because one day you can't complain if the people don't look like you, because it's not too expensive now. Someday it may be too expensive, but right now, in this moment, it's not too expensive. As a matter of fact, it's far cheaper in some cases than going in some of these suburban communities and buying homes. So
everybody moving back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they moving back in. I was privy to that information a long time ago when they had. I don't know if you remember when Baylor had that 2020 vision.
Yes.
That's when they moved. My dad showed me a plat, right, to where the new Baylor Stadium was going to be at. I was young at the time, and I really couldn't visualize it in my head, right? Okay, how they going to all this land, this and that. But now when I go look at it, okay, I see what you're talking about. And he was encouraging people to keep their property. We kept our property. Mr. Jackson, which the Cuffeys, they kept their property right on Mitchell Street, right? They kept it and they building those triplexes. but they taking advantage of the land that was left. And so we just got it's a topic of conversation. But I know with and so my thing is, so when they're displaced, you know, the social economic displacement where we, so you just moved into another area. Uh, if you don't give them, if they don't have the resources or the knowledge of where it's going, you put in the same thing in another area. You just placing those people, you put them in a whole different area, and you continue to move on because you got to preserve the history and things like that. And you have to be able to come to the table, but we got to move forward, right? We got to plan and strategize and organize. Same thing happened inside Waco. I was talking to some gentlemen the other day, Mr. Robert Aguilar. Same thing that's going on the east side is happening over there inside Waco with the expansion of Baylor and the homes being built, and you just ride around. I did that about 2 weeks ago. I kind of rode around the neighborhood. It's like you said, it's kind of houses, some are boarded up, lots, so you can build, tear down and build. It's not the house that has the value, it's the land that has the value. So that's a really good, and we just got to move forward. It's a good topic. It's a good topic, but we have to, you know, like I said, it's easy to talk about it. You got to start having some action.
And what I'm saying is, I've heard over the years, over the last 5 years, I've heard a lot of people complain about the circumstance and situation, right? And I mean, we can continue to complain about it while people continue to see value and see opportunity in our neighborhoods, or we can be part of the acquisition of property and development in our neighborhoods. Like you don't have to sit this one out. Like you can be a part of, like I say.
I don't really think they said that the last time. A lot of times they wasn't even. I know they had them little committees or whatever to make it appear like people coming in gonna have some input, but at the same time they already knew what they were gonna do. But like I said, it's done, and like I said, this they said the next go round.
Well, I remember. So it's still going on. So I remember about, I'm gonna say this probably like 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even longer than that. There was 4 lots off Elm Street. Me and my wife could have bought all 4 of them for like $7,000, and she wanted to. To her point, she wanted to, and I was like, what I'm gonna do with them lots? I ain't even got nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? That's how I'm thinking. I'm not thinking forward. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm not thinking. She knew what was going on. And unfortunately, we didn't buy those lots. They were about $1,500 a piece, man. They were cheap lots. Well, fast forward a few years later, last summer, opportunity came across for me to buy a lot, much more expensive than $1,500.
Yeah.
But when I posed the proposition to her, she said, let's do it. And I couldn't tell her no again, because she had, you know, we'd be a few 10,000s to the good if we had done it back then. But this opportunity that came up before us this summer, and we bought a lot. And so we have a lot in East Waco, and we just really trying to find seeing what it actually we would like to build. Matter of fact, and I'll say this publicly, since there's out there, if you have a lot that you like to sell, and come holler at me. You know, I may not be able to afford, I may can't buy, but I do know several men just like myself that would like to buy it, and we have connections to the community. It's a community we grew up in, and we really like to, if you want to transfer ownership, transfer it to ownership to somebody who appreciate and cares about the community, and would build a home not only for themselves, but maybe even somebody in their family. So if you got a lot out there you're trying to unload or get rid of, just holler at me, man, on Facebook or give me a call. I'd love to discuss how we could get our hands on that if at all possible.
If you do have a lot, now you can invest and build your own stuff.
No, what I'm saying, there are a lot of people who, there are people like for instance, there are people who live outside the Waco area.
Yeah, now that's a lot of times that happens.
And they don't have time to maintain or whatever, right. And they looking for somebody to take over.
If not, them taxes gonna.
If not, the taxes gonna eat the value away. And so, and so they just, like I say, I'm not trying to swindle or hustle nobody or nothing. Yeah. I'm just saying if you in the market to sell it, and you know, and if I can't afford it, I'll buy it. If I can't afford it, maybe there's some other gentleman
Right.
that's from the community or lady in the
Yeah.
community that could afford to buy it.
Now I said that to clarify. Now you,
Yeah.
no shade what you were talking about to
Yeah.
clarify, because a lot of people, if they are away, right? I know a lot of kids that moved. They're not even in Waco. Some of them not even in Texas anymore. And so instead of letting the taxes accumulate, sell it to someone. I would say sell it to someone that has a strong ties to the community or have the fund where they can go ahead and develop it. Because if you let the taxes get behind on it, somebody gonna get it. What you doing? What them comments that talking about over there?
Yeah. My wife said she put up that shaking my head because she knows she told me to get them lots and let's get them. And I was like, oh baby, I don't know what we're gonna do. We could use that money for something else, this, that, and other. And all of a sudden, man, them same lots is probably worth $30,000 a piece now. You hear me?
Yeah, they gonna add up, man.
You know.
I already know that for a fact.
You know, so that's why I say you got to strike while the iron's hot. You gotta be willing to invest. You got to see value in your community. If you see value in your community, then you have to take action. And if you don't see value in your community, you can't complain about other people taking action.
Yeah.
You know, I got drone footage over that house that my wife saw about a week ago, and there was already a family in that house, you know, landscaping the yard, planting something, working in the yard, whatever, and they look, you know, just, you know. Now again, this family doesn't look like the family that probably once occupied that house. They different. And there's nothing wrong with that, people. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as they understand the history and culture of the neighborhood and be willing to merge and melt with the people, and you know, it shouldn't be a problem with whoever buys and occupies a home in that neighborhood. But you can't complain who's there if you're not willing to invest in your neighborhood. So that's just my soapbox, and I'll say that each and every Saturday in some way, shape, or form. But I think we just got to continue to invest in our communities if we want to preserve the history and culture of it.
Yeah, I have a quick announcement to make. I also
Okay.
come down to the bottom of the hour, but the Delta Upsilon chapter of Zeta of the Zetas of Waco, they're presenting a Christian comedy show, which is featuring Minister Rodney Jeter. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. It's going to be Saturday, March the 16th. It starts at 12 o'clock p.m. and it's going to take place at Edwards Chapel. And that address is 3600 North 21st Street here in Waco, Texas. And I just want to say, right, to kind of get some motivation, man. Just, you know, I want the listening audience to stay encouraged because, you know, you only get one crack at this game called life. And it goes by pretty fast, man. We have, you know, we've over 50, right? But I've learned a whole lot in my 52 years. And my mindset is different than it was when I was 15 and 25 and 35 and 45. Not 55 yet. But, you know, if you pick up the phone and call somebody to check on them, if somebody's on your mind, pick up the phone and give them a call, because you never know when you're going to get a call saying that something happened or whatever. So please do that. Love on your family, make good choices and good decisions, and just continue to stay encouraged and empowered to move on. And so we're down at the end, man. You want that's my last word? Real quick. So education. I'm looking at the budget. I'm going back with the WIC because that's really that. And people need to go to those meetings. You can go to those meetings, sit in on it, and be involved, because the organizational structure, right? It's the people first, and then depending on what level of government, city, county, the school district, or whatever, you have the councils, the commissioners' courts, the school board representatives, and they oversee, right? Because nothing passes without the majority vote of that board or that council or the court. So just keep that in mind. But you can be vigilant. You can go watch the county commissioners' court. They play some good information, really good information. So you want to stay in tune. And we as leaders in the community or whatever, we need to share the information that we have, because I think a lot of times we got we may have the same goal in mind, but it's like everybody's going different directions, man. You got more power when you come together in unity. So that's my deal. Let you have the last word, brother.
You know, Travis, it's always good to come here and talk with you and talk about the community, man. It brings up so many fond memories, and I'm just privileged to be able to come here each and every week, man. Unfortunately, next week I won't be able to be here. Well, the next 2 weeks I probably won't be able to be here with you, but I came, you know. But I always look forward to being on the show, man. I just want to thank you for having me as your co-host.
Man, no problem. Appreciate it, man. I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to 11, right here on Magic 94.5 The Beat. If we only knew what we could do. Everyone have a blessed, safe, and productive weekend. And just remember to love on your people. Give them their flowers while they're here. And stay blessed. And we'll see you back here next week right here on Magic 94.5 The Beat. If we only knew what we could do. Have a great weekend. Yeah. Now. Have a great weekend. You still got a delay on that on.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
That was like the last time thing was throwing me off, man. I kept hearing myself.
Yeah.
That went good.
But that was that went real good. Went quick though.
Yeah, that hour go fast. Get the conversating, man. Get the talking. Y'all just turned off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me stop the
Yeah, okay.
live.